Still getting used to this new streaming service, and the last couple of times I have used it, it took ages to. Sorry, I think I had some food stuck. This is a gross way to start. I had some food stuck between my teeth, and it just came out. Okay, that's gone. That was gross. That was a gross way to start. Food stuck between my teeth. Yes, so I'm using this new StreamYard platform, and the last couple of times I've used it, it took ages to go live. When I clicked the start button, it took ages to go live. And by ages, I mean 10 seconds. 10 seconds seemed a long time to me. This one seemed to go live the instant I clicked on it, which was a bit disconcerting. And who's in chat? Hello, CrossFitter and PBR and Nug. Good to see you. And Miss Foxification, hello to you. So we're off and running. I'm doing it Hugh Hefner style in my bathrobe tonight. Hey, Catherine. Yeah, I was just. It's been a miserable couple of days here, and there's supposed to be extreme weather tonight. They got it a bit earlier in South Australia, and we're meant to get it overnight, like 100-kilometre-an-hour winds and whatnot. Hasn't happened yet. Maybe we'll. Strictly Sega, hello to you. Ooh, is that my drink? Yeah. So good. And Musical Avid, hello. Oh, that would suck. Your PC out of action with a possible disk failure. That would suck the big one. It's remarkable how reliant we are on this technology. Like, my drive gave out. What is that? Just the wind, or is that the cat at the door? Can never tell. There's a sliding door that way, the entrance to the kitchen, and it sort of rattles a bit just in the roof. It does look very blue on there, doesn't it? It looks bluer on there than it does to me in real life. I've mixed a few things in there. It's mainly the sour sop nectar and lemonade and blue heaven flavor, and it looks bluer on screen than it does to me in real life. But that's always a fun thing I always notice with the if my drink is coloured at all, it always looks a different colour on the live stream than it does me. Yes, it's the Baru family blue milk. Tastes good. Sorry, and that just reminded me of Luke in The Last Jedi milking the sea creature and just making constant eye contact with Ray as he drinks the milk, like and then the sea creature looks at her with a I enjoy being milked by him. That was messed up in a good way. Hey Adele, how you doing? So you think either tears of Tony Abbott supporters, that'd be a bit salty. I suppose some of them are still crying. My God, he got so humiliated at the last election. It was a thing of beauty. But yes, is him getting smashed at the last federal election was the only high point of election night. It's like anything that could go wrong did go wrong if you oppose the LNP, which I do. Hey, Wolfsbane, I'm fine. How are you doing? Yeah, it was funny in the lead up to the election. I was saying, like virtually everyone, I was like, Labor are going to win. And I always said it was possible for the LNP to win, but a whole series of unlikely things would have to happen. Like they had to do better than expected in every state. They had to do better than expected in Queensland, in New South Wales, in Victoria, in Western Australia, and South Australia, and they did. They did better than expected in every state. It was a real fucking turn up for the books. So yikes! And now we're stuck with them. So Adele, you were doing criminology and public law this evening. Cool. Oh wow, and it's going well. You got good lecturers. That's good, because that could be pretty heavy. Yeah, well, Spain, we do interact on the Twitters, and that's the joys of social medias, really, isn't it? Might not be in as many of the live streams, but there's always the other social medias. I'll take it like pretty much everyone got shocked by the election result. I was really hoping to celebrate. I was going to get really drunk and gloat. And I guess that's my punishment for anticipatory Schadenfreude. Yeah, I ended the live stream earlier than I intended because I just went, this is just depressing. I don't want to drink while I'm depressed. That's awful. I only wanted to drink if I was happy. Having said that, I had a couple of drinks by the time I signed off. But yeah, I kind of thought like might go on all night, and get the result I wanted and get really shit faced and gloat. Didn't work out. So anyone who wanted to laugh at me because they don't like Labor got to laugh at me. But yeah, and I did notice. I noticed a couple people here, lefties, who were all for fuck the LNP, and then publicly going, oh, it doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt me that it's happened. Blah blah blah, blah, and sort of basically refusing to admit that they were quite upset by the election result. Whereas I have no qualms about saying I was quite upset by the election result. Still upset. So nothing. It still feels like nothing of significance has happened since the election. Labor under Albanese continued to astound with just being fucking worse than useless. But I'm just waiting because I think the LNP is going to introduce industrial relations laws from hell. I don't think they've had any spectacularly big opportunities to fuck up the environment yet, but they'll do it. And they keep kicking around this whole religious freedom law that they want to pass, which there's no fucking way. There is no fucking way they can do what they want. So yeah, although they're shameless hypocrites. So, like, how they balance the double-edged free speech with, you know, you're also not allowed to upset their religious views is just like fucking whatever. Good luck with that. So I don't know what's going to happen. Will be too many hellish laws. I don't know that. I could easily be wrong, but I do think the most evil thing this government is going to do is in industrial relations, like totally stripping away workers' rights, claiming that they should have the power to deregister unions just because they disagree with something the union's done. It's like people have forgotten all of the basic rights, and I mean the basic rights people take for granted. 5-day working week, 40-hour week, holidays, sick pay, all these things that people absolutely take for granted. Uh, People died, and not one or two people. many people died to earn those rights, and many more were beaten and abused and had their lives ruined. It's no small thing, uh, the fight for basic workers' rights and the fucking uh, way that they think they're just going to peel it all back. They're setting up for some incredibly volatile confrontations down the line. And that's the other one, Will Spain, the attack on people who are unemployed or on sickness benefits or on pension. Uh, they're telegraphing loud and clear it's class warfare now. And in fact, okay, I said they haven't done anything horrible yet, but I think the worst thing they're doing at the moment is the attack on unemployed people. Like it's evil as fuck, and the sick fucking stooges in the media are lapping it up and running all these horrific stories on dole bludgers cheating the system. Oh yeah, we should give them these cards, not actual payments into their account. So we get to declare what they can spend money on, because what's the good of being in power if you can't savagely demean the most vulnerable people in society? They are just fucking scum, and they are gearing up big time for full on class warfare. And hey, Justin, how are you? Also, I don't give a shit if some people are dull bludgers. I don't give a shit if some people aren't looking for a job. There are more people looking for jobs than there are jobs available. The idea that it's some great social good to persecute people who are already the most vulnerable is sick as fuck when they're busy giving out billions of dollars in tax breaks to the richest people who don't fucking need it, and at the same time literally trying to destroy the lives of the people who are the most vulnerable. It's absolutely sick. It's sick and just vile. And they've made it quite clear they are really aggressively going to fuck people over even more than they have been. And you know, when you see all those things like the fake robo debt, like accusing hundreds of thousands of people receiving benefits of having gotten too much and being found out again and again that the people hadn't done anything wrong. And just a frightening number of people who've been penalised under that system uh, have died. I mean, I'm actually quickly going to look that up. Yeah, over 2,000 people died after receiving Centrelink robo debt notices. It's fucked. So almost 500 of those were under 35. So yeah, like a third of the people who died were classified as vulnerable. They had complex needs, health needs. They may be victims of domestic violence, and there would have been a significant number of suicides in that. But even when it's not suicides, it's just running people into the ground. It's demeaning them and just destroying their health, basically. It's it's just the worst. And the boomers don't realize how bad they're going to get it. You got the obnoxious cashed up boomers who are dragging in all these tax frauds. They're just scum. But the significant majority of boomers, the ones who actually, they're too stupid to realize they'd been sold a lie, that they didn't get, uh, the franked, whatever the definition of that fucking scam, franking dividends. It's like they all got convinced that they all get it. It's like, for fuck's sake. And they're the ones, they're going to get their pension cut off. They're going to be left to fucking die. And I'm not saying they deserve it, but, make your own bed. And, yeah, it just like Centrelink created this disaster with the robo debt. And then they didn't even provide the infrastructure for you to deal with. Like everyone says, yeah, Uniscabator, dealing with Centrelink's a mindfuck. They don't have enough staff to handle the inquiries. They don't have skilled enough staff to handle the inquiries. They created this fucking nightmarish situation, and then were completely incapable of managing it. And it's just, wow. It's just like the absolute callousness of upending the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, being wrong in just a huge percentage of cases, and taking no responsibility for managing it at all. I mean, these people, fucking Satan, quite honestly. It's it's just like, everyone jokes about, the revolution and the guillotines and whatnot. But the people behind this bullshit, to me, they just seem like the people who would just be incredibly surprised as they're dragged out of their mansions into the town square by the mob to face the justice of the people. They'd be really confused. They'd be, what did I do to deserve this? It's like, oh, wait, all that fucking people over for the last couple decades. Oh, is this retribution? Damn, I didn't know that was going to happen. It's really going to be, that's another misclassification. The government talking about removing a family home exemption from pension thing. They're determined to get people off pensions. They're determined to get people off benefits. And they literally do not care that they are killing people with this practice. They do not care. It's that simple. They couldn't give a shit about how people suffer it. I still love the quoting. I've brought this up in live streams before. There's I think it's one of the tech billionaires, and he basically says the pitchforks are coming. He's Nick Hanauer. That's right. I've read this out before, and he's made lots and lots of money. He made his biggest money from a single company, set up an internet advertising company that Microsoft bought 2007 for 6.4 billion. And he's like, I'm super, super rich. And I want to find the money shot in here where he says, okay, let's speak frankly to each other. I'm not the smartest guy you've ever met or the hardest working. I was a mediocre student. I'm not technical at all. I can't write a word of code. What set me apart, I think, is a tolerance for risk and intuition about what will happen in the future. Seeing where things are headed is the essence of entrepreneurship. And what do I see in our future now? I see pitchforks. And then he talks about the wealth disparity. He said in 1980, the top 1% controlled about 8% of US national income, and the bottom 50% shared about 18%. Now the top 1% control 20%, and the bottom 50% has gone down to 12%. And he says, the problem is that the inequality is at historically high levels and getting worse. And unless we change policies dramatically, the middle class will disappear. We'll be back to late 18th century France, before the revolution. And so I have a message for my fellow filthy rich, for all of us who live in our gated bubble world. Wake up, people. It won't last. And he just says, he's saying, there is no example in human history where wealth accumulated like this and the pitchforks didn't eventually come up. He says, you show me a highly unequal society and I'll show you a police state or an uprising. There's no counterexamples, none. It's not if, it's when. it's good. One of the billionaires saying, we've gone too far, this isn't sustainable, you need to change, or we're fucked. But I don't know, looking at human history, these things seem to be cyclical. Injustice and inequality gets worse and worse. The people who are winning seem oblivious to the fact that the situation is unsustainable because they have so much power they don't envision ever losing it. And then the revolution comes. And yes, the pitchforks and the guillotines. And that's a good point, Ms. Foxification. Hong Kong, the level of unrest in Hong Kong should shake plutocrats and totalitarians everywhere. China has got to be very worried. They're starting to threaten the people of Hong Kong quite directly, saying things like, don't mistake tolerance for weakness, like, nudge wink Tiananmen Square. And maybe they will launch a military crackdown. But I don't see how you do when you look at Hong Kong and it's literally millions of people on the streets. And Tiananmen Square was bad enough. There were thousands of, well, at least hundreds, I'm not sure how many were in Tiananmen Square, hundreds to thousands of people in Tiananmen Square, and they just rolled the tanks in eventually. And it was horrible and brutal and bloody, and they killed a lot of people. But how do you do that when it's literally millions of people in the street? Wow. China might have a big army, but it ain't that big. Ms. Foxification, what video are you talking about? I mean, the short answer is no, I didn't see the video. Not sure what you're talking about, but I'm intrigued as to what was in the video that you're referencing, because I didn't see it. And yeah, sorry, was it the protesters or the Chinese government that did it? Oops, I made a mistake. How did I make that mistake? I will just actually fix that. That's a bit better. I just want to check something. Ah, the picture quality seems better tonight. That's what I was checking. All right, I'll get rid of that now. Don't want to choke the bandwidth. So yeah, is Hong Kong a sign of things to go? Who knows? Because I mean, we're on the outside. I don't feel like we had much warning, much indication that really extreme protest was going to happen in Hong Kong. But maybe that's just because we're outsiders. We didn't know how angry people were. Or maybe it was spontaneous. I actually don't know that level of detail about the protests. If they spontaneously happened when China made the pronouncement about extradition, or there'd been unrest building for ages. Okay, it was China who produced the video to scare the protesters. That makes sense. China likes their propaganda. Justin, waiting till 2047. What do you mean waiting till 2047? What does that mean to you? And also, 2047, really? Close enough to 30 years? Uh, a lot can happen in 6 months. Anyone who thinks they can predict what's going to happen in 30 years is, uh, as Blind Boy would say, talking out their hoop. Is well, you'd think that the rest of the world would not quietly sit by if China enacted an extreme military option on the people of Hong Kong. But I don't know, the world is very complicated. Okay, just the expiry of the one country, two systems. Again, that's on paper. Yeah, theoretically, that's when China takes over Hong Kong rule. That's on paper. That's making the huge assumption things are still the same in China as they are now, and that the people of Hong Kong won't aggressively resist that. Just because it's on paper doesn't mean people are going to go along with it. And plus, again, unrest on the scale of what's happening in Hong Kong now suggests I think it'd be very much in the forefront of the mind of the power brokers in China that waiting and doing nothing is probably a very bad idea. Just at a guess, I'm just thinking behind closed doors, the party commandants in China are thinking, this is not great. Justin, you reckon Taiwan has a better shot of resisting China? Well, they're kind of sort of resisting China now because you get the people in Taiwan who say they don't recognize the authority of China, and China's going, fuck yes, you do. But these are complex issues and happening in a part of the world that I'm certainly not an expert in. Uh, but the world's been so weird generally. God, I wouldn't even predict what's going to happen in Australia in 2 years, let alone trying to predict what would happen in China in 30 years. It's everything is so volatile at the moment, and there's so much chaos in the world. Uh, I wouldn't try to do anything. Almost for I wouldn't doubt for a second if China makes a military move on Hong Kong, it would be a massacre. It would be absolutely horrible. Would be absolutely horrible. That's a good option, Adele. Ask your international law lecturer what she thinks about Hong Kong and China. May well have some insights into the area. And all I see when I look at it is, wow, that's super complicated, and anything anyone does potentially has like cascading serious effects. So who the hell knows what's going to happen? It's, when countries with a completely different culture, and the relationship between Hong Kong and China is quite outside of my life experience, my understanding of the world. So that isn't something that I'm going to have particularly deep insights into. I mean, yeah, even somewhere that's much more similar to Australia, the UK, I have no fucking idea what's going to happen there. I can't understand any of it. The From the outside, and I suspect also from the inside, but everything's so opaque. The media are pushing contradictory lines all the time. Uh, what the fuck's going to happen with Brexit? Nobody is able to predict what's going to happen because people are predicting things that completely contradict each other. And, if they went to a general election, what would happen then? I don't know. You have all these people, both theoretically inside and outside Labor, saying they should get rid of Corbyn because they'll lose the election. But the rank and file of the Labor Party voted him in as leader twice, which kind of suggests he's the most electable person for Labor. But, when the media hammers a point so hard, it's difficult to not be swayed by it. I mean, I don't know how much longer the Tories can hold off a general election. It's And what would happen? Okay, what happens if there's a general election and nobody gets a majority? Which, from what I've seen from recent elections they've had and from surveys and whatnot, no one with a majority seems like the most likely outcome. But could someone form a coalition or a minority government? Who knows? It's where who would the Lib Dems side with? Would they side with the Tories again, despite how bad that was for them in the past? Would they side with Labor? Who knows? Yeah, the world's just fucked. Hey, Fiona and Sealer, how are you? Miss Fox occasionally laughing at Butters Johnson. I mean, what a fucking clown. John Oliver did quite a good deconstruction of Johnson a week or so ago, where he said Boris Johnson puts this bumbling duffer act on, and it's clearly an act, it's clearly contrived, and the media clearly keep falling for it again and again and again and again. Johnson is clearly a horrible, bigoted, elitist, self-centered, self-absorbed, cruel piece of shit. And he's covered it for years with this, bumbling over thing, like deliberately messing his hair up, wearing silly clothes, pulling silly faces, defusing every fucked and wrong thing he's done with his wacky persona. And the media's fallen for it again and again and again and again. But now he's in this position that's absolutely critical for the continuation of the country. I mean, the direst predictions of a bad Brexit result are pretty fucking dire. They're, basically that Britain will run out of food. And that's a fairly extreme outcome. And at the very least, Britain is likely to suffer a severe recession. That's like a best case scenario is a severe recession. And there's a lot of people who seem to make it very plausible that everything will go down in a screaming fucking heap. Not good. Hey, Safa, how are you? But yeah, and so if everything goes tits up for England, the UK, uh, there's a severe worry that that will actually have a knock-on effect across Europe, and yeah, ripple out to the rest of the world. So a global recession, if not depression. Uh, Yay! That would be great, wouldn't it? Just no, I think there'll be a revolution. I don't really think there'll be a revolution because England's had very harsh economic conditions multiple times just since World War II, and they've weathered through it each time. So, yeah. Adele, London's going to fall. What do you mean? You mean like economically? The Because yeah, London's an economic centre for Europe, and I think that can no longer be the case with a hard Brexit. Um, so yes, the economic engine of London will collapse, and yeah, probably just cascade all over the world. So Sega watching video with Stephen Fry. If Brexit passes, this way it become a major. It will become a major place to store money. What is it? What is the it that will be a major place to store money? But yeah, London made itself the economic centre of Europe, and there is a strong belief that all those banks couldn't continue to operate in England. You couldn't continue to do financial trading with England with a hard Brexit. So yeah. Oh, okay. So there's talk of Britain becoming a tax haven. Okay, so you're saying in their desperation because their economy's fucking tanking, they'll just do well. Ireland's done it to an extent, and then they appear to have gotten a lot of money out of it and then fucked it up. You say, yeah, I'm a tax haven. So all these international companies set up bases there and put all their money there because Britain says you don't have to pay any tax. And then they hope that the jobs generated by those companies save their economy because they certainly don't get any tax revenue from those companies. But of course, that's going to fall down with the increasing automation of everything. So strictly saying you want to be, oh my God, you did a 12-hour shift. Oh my God. I will not take it personally if you have to crash a 12-hour shift. Oh my God. No, that's harsh. And I certainly won't take it personally if you have to crash. But yeah, that's another fun topic. Automation. Like what you look about, robots and automation and the like. It's very interesting because I've actually done a bit of This is one thing I've done a bit of reading and research on, uh, and the next 50 years. Now, assuming we don't all die because of climate change, and that's without being too bleak, at best a 50-50 chance at the moment. But if everything doesn't collapse in the next 50 years, um, and automation continues on its current path, it will be a shake-up in people's way of life more extreme than the Industrial Revolution, which means massive changes and people having to adapt in an incredibly short time window to their life just being turned upside down. And if you can't adapt, it's chaos. You look at it, the obvious thing that's been happening for the last couple of decades is factory jobs and production line jobs getting automated, so all those jobs going. Then mining jobs and a few other primary production industries losing 90% of their jobs to automation. And when people who think they're cutting edge now, and I found this very interesting the first time I just covered it. Like, self-driving vehicles are going to turn everything upside down, and they are coming. Anyone who reckons that self-driving vehicles won't dominate in the next 10 years has not paid a lot of attention to technology for the last 100 years. So yes, that's my not even slightly hot take. It's actually quite a conservative take, in my opinion, that within 10 years, self-driving vehicles will dominate the roads. And the first people to be affected by that are going to be truck drivers, freight delivery people. They will be the first ones replaced. And for instance, in the US, it's in quite a large number of states in the US, truck driver is the most common job, and they're all going to get replaced. And this is what people have been used to: blue collar work being replaced by automation, even skilled blue collar work being replaced by automation. But it's going to be way, way, way beyond that. You will see all the professions getting replaced by automation and AI. And that's like lawyers. Who needs a lawyer if you have an AI with a database of all the law who instantly knows what the actual legal precedents, etc., are? Lawyers will get replaced by AI, judges will get replaced by AI, and then the AIs will probably be really badly designed, and the prejudices that exist in humans will just be multiplied outwards, so it'll be a nightmare. But doctors will get replaced by AI, like GPs. An AI that referenced a medical database very quickly would be better at diagnostics than a human. And psychiatrists and psychologists will get replaced. Surgeons will get replaced by operating machines. So basically, all the skilled lawyers, sorry, I just read that. All the skilled professions are going to get replaced by automation. I don't you think, look, you wouldn't need lawyers because people don't like giving up their machines to freedom. Again, that seems naive to me. People embrace these changes all the time. And besides, the ordinary people, you and me, we won't have a say in it. The people who can make more money out of it go like, ooh, you don't have to pay lawyers, just put all these AIs in place. It'll absolutely do it. Here's me. This is definitely a hot take, by the way. This stands every chance of being completely wrong. But I get what you're saying, Adele. You're saying like precedent can change based on interpretation of the law. I mean, lawyers will go before judges, but they will go. People will be because you just need to look at actual real facts. Lawyers are, you can find thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of examples. Lawyers are incompetent and corrupt. You can back that statement up with thousands and thousands and thousands of instances. Judges are incompetent and corrupt. You can back that up again and again and again and again. And see, you can also say, but there are also lawyers who are good and diligent and earnest and doing good work. There are judges who are principled and honest and even and fair. That doesn't carry as much emotive power as lawyers are stupid and lazy and corrupt, judges are incompetent and corrupt, particularly when you can just bring out actual real examples again and again and again and again. People will react emotionally, and basically virtually all of the professions are fucked. Architecture will be done by robots and AI. Medicine's going to be replaced. Lawyers are going to be replaced. It will start with simple stuff like misfoxification, saying simple infringements, parking fines, etc. That'll be the first. There'll be simple stuff will be handled by automation first, and it will just expand outwards. And anyone who thinks their profession's not going to be smashed is going to be like journalists. As recently as the 90s, journalists were sure, they were indispensable. Now, I don't know, fucking 90% of them are out of work. It's just the most dangerous assumption you can make is that your profession is future-proof, because it isn't. It just isn't. Justin saying farmers will be replaced by petri dish. Hey, lab-grown meat would be an amazing thing. Because the meat industry is so destructive and so wasteful and so cruel. There's basically nothing to recommend it. Lab-grown meat would be brilliant. And then it'll probably kill us all 10 years later. But, we had a good run. Yes, no, we don't want the umbrella corporation in charge of lab meat. Oh, I'm going to find the AI in cars. I really like the speculative fiction writing of Cory Doctorow. I first came across him. He was writing for the long-running blog Boing Boing. But he's very good at speculative fiction. And he worked with some people who were working on the development of self-driving cars and wrote this sort of series of short stories called Car Wars. I'm putting the link there for anyone who wants to read something later. But it basically explores scenarios like the government monitoring your use of your car, how people who want to mod their cars, you would be breaking the law to change anything about your car, to have control over your own car. And so hackers who want to control things about their car would be breaking the law. And he comes up with an example of malicious actors causing a disaster because they know how to manipulate self-driving cars. And it isn't simply hacking insecure systems, although that already happens and will continue to happen. But it's also just knowing how the algorithms in the self-driving cars work, so how you can push them into certain behaviours. And then, of course, every government would demand a backdoor into the operating systems of cars. You think about it, every government around the world, if and people would be sold on this. It's like, particularly because we've already had horrible terrorism attacks using vehicles. The government just convinces us we have to have a backdoor into car operating systems, and they'll all be networked so we can shut down the cars and stop bad people in cars. And then, first, that backdoor would be exploited by malicious actors. But second, totalitarian regimes would exploit it every time there was unrest. I mean, like, we're talking about Hong Kong. If there was self-driving cars that the government had a back door to in Hong Kong, you just imagine as soon as a protest started, it just run down the first couple of dozen protesters, and everyone else is going to disperse pretty fucking quick. And look, we know for a fact around the world, governments have shown no qualms whatsoever in murdering huge numbers of their own citizens just because they perceive them to be a threat. It just happens again and again and again. So, yeah, I think self-driving cars will have a huge amount of positives, but depending how they're implemented, will likely have a huge amount of negatives as well. So, but this is most likely our future. Oh, no, that is actually a real good point. I wouldn't trust governments to not use a backdoor into vehicles to assassinate enemies and dissenters. I mean, it would be an accident. Honestly, it's simply like, okay, there's that union boss who's given us shit. I think we'll just take over the operating system of his car and go right through that red light into a semi-trailer and kill him. That's another good one, misfoxification. Unemployed, you can't use main roads. Yeah, and like China introducing, the Black Mirror type uh, social standing system, your social points. And yeah, if you don't have enough social points, you can't use the road. And the government gets to decide what's positive and negative behavior. Like they might just decide that, I know you went to the bottle shop one time too many this week. We think you've got a drinking problem and that's antisocial. And we're going to cut all your benefits, like you can't use this service, you can't use that service. But it's almost inevitable. No government around the world is going to be able to resist the level of control that complete automation will give them. I see, Justin, there's the one loophole. You're asking, would politicians become AI? Not while they make the laws, they won't. They're not giving up that power. Although then you would really find out how much power the plutocrats with their big companies and media and whatnot have, because I could see, the 1% pushing a public campaign to replace corrupt, lazy politicians with AI to make legislative decisions, and people being suckered into it. But again, because you can really easily show again and again and again and again, politicians are lazy, corrupt, and stupid. And yeah, I think, you get a lot of dystopian cyberpunk sci-fi where, yeah, politics as we know it doesn't exist. The mega corporations run everything. William Gibson was very good at writing stories where everything's run by corporations because they just got so much control. There was that series on Netflix about a year ago, Altered Carbon, that had some good stuff in it. Uh, but again, it's just a very bleak future where the super rich control everything. You know, politics as we know it has ceased to be a thing. So who knows? Who knows? Nothing lasts forever. Who knows where we're going to end up? But there's certainly a lot you can speculate on because lots of wild things are more than possible in the future. And it's yeah, it's there's so many wild possibilities. I know you want to go back and play the original Deus Ex. Yeah, I don't think any of William Gibson's properties have been turned into anything good. They've been, I think he actually wrote the story for a game. Uh, a couple of his stories have been turned into movies, and they haven't turned out very well. Uh, but his novels and short stories are just so good. Uh, and explore such interesting ideas. It's quite a shame that they've never been very well adapted into either games or movies or TV shows, even though there's been a few attempts. But uh, these things happen. I was thinking for the second half, if I make a cocktail, try to theme it with what's happening. I was thinking because we were supposed to have a big storm tonight, although it hasn't arrived yet. Are there storm-themed cocktails? Ugh, gross. Ginger beer. There's always these ones that have ginger beer in them. There's dark and stormy as ginger beer. I just found one called Perfect Storm, and it was Seal Jerry spiced rum, lime juice, bitters, and ginger beer. Gross. I hate ginger beer. Uh, I mean, I haven't drunk it for a while, but yeah, I just don't like ginger beer, basically. What's this one? A Grand Marnier one. So an orange liqueur. Well, I've got Cointreau. So that's Cointreau, lime juice, bitters, and ginger beer. Fuck off with your ginger beer. Well, these ones with Storm in their title have ginger beer in them, and I hate ginger beer. Yes, again, another one, ginger beer and rum. Yeah, gross. Gross, gross. Maybe I go lightning. I want a storm theme. Electric lightning. See, those are good names. Thunder and lightning. These are good names. Smokestack lightning. Ooh, see, these these are all good names for cocktails. It's a smokestack as tequila, whiskey, and agave. That's an interest. I don't think I've had um, tequila with whiskey. They're saying Scotch. They're going 16-year-old Islay single malt whiskey. Wankers. It's going in a cocktail. You don't want a really exotic. And they're going like a Patron de Esposado. You don't want really exotic drinks in a fucking cocktail because it's wasted. So it's mostly tequila. It's like a shot and a half of tequila and only half a shot of whiskey. Ugh. I don't know. That's in the maybe pile. It's in a thunder and lightning. All right, what's everyone talking about while I'm looking at cocktail recipes? Adele, you have to go. Have a good night. Thank you. Oh, Safra, it's your grandma's birthday. Happy birthday to your grandma. PBR, I'll open a cocktail bar one time. Thunder and lightning. Ooh, an egg yolk. And brandy. That's interesting. I don't often make cocktails with egg yolk. They're often called flips. If they have an egg yolk, they're often called flips, but this is egg yolk, sugar, and brandy. Ugh. Put a dash of cayenne pepper on top. Don't think I'll make that one. Not completely averse to it, but I don't think I'll make that one. What's electric lightning? Vodka, rum, blue curacao. I've got I've got blue absinthe, which is so not like blue curacao, like so many hundreds of miles removed from blue curacao. Oh, that was a weird noise. I think they're playing Fallout 4 in the next room. A siren. I don't think I'll make that one. Lightning bolt. White lightning, which is named for moonshine, of course. White lightning. So what's white lightning? Southern Comfort. I don't have any amaretto. Sour mix and citrus soda. No, not that one. AIDzee had this desire to make moonshine at one point. He does come up with a lot of wild ideas. They're not bad ideas necessarily, but there's certainly some wild ones, yes. And one of them was what do you call it? Make moonshine. What's this one? Making a blender, vodka and frozen lemonade concentrate. Pour both ingredients into a blender. Vary the amount of vodka according to how buzzed you want to be. That sounds irresponsible, quite honestly. Definitely irresponsible. One more with lightning in the name, the lightning bug. With frozen mixer in them. Close. Oh, stupid fucking pop-ups. There's the actual recipe. I just gotta scroll and all this shit in. They've got a picture of a little kid drinking it. Well, that's not good. That's not good at all. Oh, fucking Pinterest. I hate Pinterest so much. Yes. All right. I'm saying Bacardi. I feel like. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, what a shitty fucking web. It's like when you follow a thing that says it's for a cocktail, you just want a cocktail, not ridiculous horseshit. Sorry, I just was we talking about just bring up the Forbes is how many billionaires have donated to candidate for president. Yeah, they all want to buy some influence. That's Pete Buttigieg popular with the billionaires, is he? That's a fascinating one because he doesn't seem to have what it takes, and he's gay. But there's a lot of people who are pushing them as a serious contender. It's like, oh, all right. The only ones I like policy-wise are Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. The rest of them are a bunch of go fuck off in terms of policy-wise. That's a fun anniversary, PBR. 50th anniversary of the Manson murders. there any Charlie Manson drink recipe? Ginger ale. No. So there's a Charlie Manson drink, a Marilyn Manson drink, and a Shirley Manson drink. What's the Charlie Manson? Ginger ale, spiced rum, and rye whiskey. No, fuck off with your ginger ale. And I mean, honestly, fuck off with pretending Charlie Manson's funny as well, really. But what's a Marilyn Manson drink? Triple sec, amaretto. Jesus fucking Christ, they've got these things popping up that actually, Jesus fucking Christ. You've got these pop-ups that actually cover the content. Fucking idiots. Rum, orange juice, sweet and sour mix, pineapple juice, bitters, rum. These people are fuckwits. Let's say triple sec amaretto, vodka, sweet and sour mix. Gross. Anytime I see it's always American sites talking about sour mix or sweet and sour mix, all I just think of is one episode of Archer when he's trying to make drinks behind a bar and he's looking at the ingredients on offer and he goes, ugh, sour mix? What is this? Auschwitz? It's like, because it's really low rent to use a pre-made sour mix instead of using actual fruit juice or mixing something on your own. You know what? I'm going to try this smokestack lightning. I've got tequila and whiskey and syrup, and I might put some lemon juice in because I don't have. I've got some lime flavor, but I don't have lime juice. Why not? Why not indeed? Yes. Well, Charlie wasn't really drinking the Kool-Aid. That actually dates to Jim Jones, the cult leader, who got everyone in his cult to commit suicide by drinking poison Kool-Aid. So if there's a Chernobyl vodka, I'm intrigued as to what a Chernobyl vodka is. That concept worries me a little, to be honest. But I'm going to make this drink. I need to get a few things. Cocktail shaker. Like that. All right. I just, yeah, no, I was going to do something with my phone, but it played up last time, and I thought I had some brainwave of how to stop doing it, and I don't think that will work. And I don't have my earbuds here, so I wonder, did I get a shower? I'm not sure in what. Do you mean just because I'm wearing my robe, have I been in shower? No, I just took off my work clothes and decided, do this live stream in my PJs, basically. All right, so what on? Tequila, whiskey. Ugh, what a big thing of ice. My big things of ice. Put a big old cube of ice in there. Look at that little big cube of ice. It's bigger than my head. That's not forced perspective. It's actually that big. Okay, ice. What do we got here? Scorch. Where's my tequila? You know what? For no reason at all, but just to experiment, I'm going to put a bit of chartreuse in there as well, because just a little bit though, because it's quite strong flavour. So I want my lemon juice. Lemon. Right. So this is all happening. Lemon and lime. That's my Garvey. Okay. So All right, I'm going to do my version of it. Hey, environmental coffee house. Hey, you've been crazy. Well, I hope that's like busy in a good. I do like the smell of tequila, actually. I know some people like, but tequila and mezcal, which is even smokier than tequila. Hmm. Someone who doesn't like smoking, it's weird that I like the smell of the really smoky spirit. All right. So yes, environmental coffee house. I'm hoping if you've been busy, that means that good and interesting things are happening in your life, keeping you busy. I'm making a version of a smokestack lightning cocktail. It's a song by Howling Wolf. There you go. That's probably where they got the name for the cocktail, from the Howling Wolf song. Maybe it was something Howling Wolf liked to drink. I don't know. I think so. All right. Oh, bummer. It's actually for bad reasons. Problems disabling pain conditional money. That sounds like my friend AIDzee, who's had uh, nigh on 2 decades of chronic pain and commensurate uh, money and lifestyle. You can't. This is a problem. Being sick is bad enough, or having a chronic pain situation is bad enough. But it almost invariably comes with monetary pressures as well. This evil capitalist society of ours. It's always people who are having the most difficult time who get most knocked around by the system. It's not good. Not good at all. Well, I hope you manage to get on top of things. And PBA, you think because of Howling Wolf's raspy voice, tequila may well have been his favourite drink? Give the ingredients a little shake. I don't really have a good shaking style. Sometimes you see bartenders and they do the. I don't really have a good shaking style. And I have mentioned before, I did finally get to see that really cheesy 80s Tom Cruise film, Cocktail, and it was hilarious. I mean, it's funny that he and Brian Brown learned all the tricks of, how to throw the bottles around and whatnot to put on a show. But yeah, on top of all the cheesiness, I hated women because all the women characters are shitty. They're shitty in different ways, but all the women characters are shitty. It's really noticeable. Oh gosh, you have spine problems. That is not good. Hey, look, expressing what's happening and sharing your difficulty is not whining. There's a thing I learned from AIDzee, who actually, doesn't always say a lot, but because I always feel badly, again, having a friend who has chronic health conditions. If I do something like, oh, I've hurt my shoulder, I feel bad saying I've hurt my shoulder around you because you're like all going through is completely legitimate. So just sharing the fact that you're having these problems is not whining, honestly. So yeah, so I hope you get some improvement. But yeah, chronic conditions are really difficult. Oh my God, Strictly say it. Cocktail was the first boobs you saw in a movie. Don't know what the first boobs I saw in a movie was. Probably, the occasional horror movie that has the obligatory nude scenes in it. PBR, they were trained by TGI Fridays, top bartenders. Mm. Oh, that's pretty good. Oh, and there's the tequila. Oh man, a good cocktail. Um, you get multiple flavors from it. This is why I don't know. Maybe it makes me a snob, but some people literally call gin and tonic or vodka and orange juice a cocktail. At least vodka and orange juice has a name, a screwdriver, and gin and tonic. It's like, oh man, it's only one spirit and one ingredient. It's not really a cocktail. I like the multiple flavors. This one, because I put lime juice and lemon juice and some agave syrup in it. The initial taste is sweet, but yeah, I can taste the chartreuse and the scotch a little bit, and then you get this sort of smoky tequila thing going down. It's nice. Oh, that's why. Okay, Environment Coffee House. You said your insurer because they saw your YouTube channel. Yeah, because you're doing a video. You make yourself look good and healthy for a video, read a script, and then you can lie down. But they went, no, you're completely okay. Look at that. Oh, fuck that. That really sucks. So you went to a double feature of Cocktail and Young Einstein. Oh, though you spelled it Eisenstein, the Russian filmmaker. That would be interesting. A movie about the life of young Eisenstein. I know Young Einstein. That's the Yahoo Serious movie, isn't it? God. Speaking of 80s cheese, and they're both with Australians in them, Brian Brown and Yahoo Serious. Oh no, can't even drink. Diagnosed with a peptic ulcer. No. Jesus, that's harsh. That's very harsh. Ziga, that's a pretty intellectual autocorrect. Autocorrect changing what you're saying to Eisenstein. That's what I call an intellectual autocorrect right there. Autocorrects are usually more annoying and stupid than that. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just getting notifications commenting on, oh, but they're positive. Oh, that's good. When I see one person commenting on uh, a bunch of my stuff on Facebook, I think, oh God, is this another troll? But that person was positive. That's a nice change. Gone bad misfoxification. Let me see. Oh no, video's gone bad. See, I can't control that. There's too many variables that could be causing it. So yeah, if it goes bad, there's not much I can do. Yeah, hopefully it gets better. You're having a real thing with autocorrect, PBR, foxification, changing to notification, although that's a good username as well. Oh yeah, sorry, I just went to look at the YouTube see and I noticed, yeah, it's stuttering and hopefully it settles down. It gets too bad. I was worried because we were supposed to have this extreme weather. They weren't, and it hasn't happened yet. It might happen overnight. Uh, they weren't predicting any power outages here, but you can never be sure in a storm. And of course, the NBN runs off main power. So if the mains power went out, this live stream would cut out. But the extreme weather hasn't actually hit here. I was going to call this video something about the weather. It's a dark and stormy night, or something similar. But the extreme weather has not actually reached here yet. So if my the name for the stream, "No Dogs Were Harmed During the Making of This Live Stream," that's too oblique. I just saw this thing all over. Apparently reasonably big name YouTuber who I've never heard of, but that's not surprising because there are thousands of big name YouTubers, uh, and she she accidentally uploaded a video she didn't mean to, or someone who works for her did it maliciously. But she's trying to make a video. She has a big dog, like a Doberman. It's running up to her while she's trying to record stuff for video, and she gets angry and treats the dog quite roughly and shouts at it. And so the entire internet hates her at the moment. That's gotta suck. Because I don't think she has a lot of defenders. Like normally, when someone gets scapegoated on the internet, you have at least some people who support you. Because yeah, if someone's getting dragged for being um, uh, racist or misogynist or homophobic, they're going to get defended by people who are racist and misogynist and homophobic. But good luck getting defended if people think you're to a doggo. They're just gonna come for you, and she's gonna get YouTube channels going to be under threat. Angry people are gonna dox her, and then she's gonna start getting death threats. And yeah, this is not gonna end well for her. And this is one thing I try and avoid: pylons in situations like that. Like someone would have to be really shitty for me to go them. And I'd never do this. You get these freak people who, with virtually no provocation, start making death threats on someone and what. I was just like, fuck is wrong with you? Um, but yeah, that sort of shit's weird. Safa, have I had the NBN disconnected? I've had semi regular. Well, I've had a few things where they've said, "Oh, work's happening on the NBN, so you might get disruptions between this hour and this hour." But that doesn't happen too often. Oh, so you say she spat on the dog as well? No, her whole thing seems odd. Like she does not seem to have a good relationship with the dog. Um, but yeah, she's going to be pretty miserable for a while because of the amount of hate she's getting. Although here's a little thing. Here's a hot take of mine. I see people saying on the semi-regular on the internet, cancel bad, to be stopped. And to which I say, my hot take is there is no such fucking thing as cancel culture. It was a phrase that people started using when someone who had a public profile did something shitty. They go, well, they're cancelled. Like, I'm never having anything to do. If they're a musician, I'm not going to buy their music anymore. I'm not going to listen to them anymore. If they're an actor, I'm not going to watch their movies or TV shows. If they're a writer, I'm not going to buy their books. Yeah, they're cancelled as far as I'm concerned. But it's just a phrase people use. It has no actual meaning. No one's actually being hurt by it. It doesn't actually hold any weight. And it's just like, what the fuck? It's acting as if cancel culture is a thing is ridiculous. People can say, I am displeased with that person and I'm displeased with them to the extent that I don't want to support what they do. That's people making a choice. The idea that there's this evil monster cancel culture that ruins people, it's like, no, fuck off. It doesn't exist. It's just a silly phrase people use to express the fact I'm pissed off at that person, and I don't want to support what they do anymore. And yeah, it's just horseshit. And also the idea that people shouldn't be held responsible for things they do sucks. So how's the 4G? Go away, Siri. What the hell? I think I could do a little speed test on my 4G if I switch off Wi-Fi. Oh no, it's off. Okay, 4G. Where's my speed test? Where's speed test? I'll tell you how fast my 4G at the moment is. Okay, we'll see. Holy shit! My 4G download at the moment is like at over 90 MIPS. Well, it's fluctuating a bit. It's gone into the 80s now. So something like 85. Uploads 20 to 25. So but now it's, oh, gee, what happened then? It just died for a second there. Now it's saying 15. So it wavered from between 25 and 15. Yeah, there you go. With a 27 millisecond ping. That's actually pretty good, 4G. So you can say Michael Jackson's Invincible album. Well, two things I'd say to that. Unless I missed my thing, that Invincible album was released after he was dead anyway. And also, he was a fucking child molester. The idea that a child molester shouldn't fucking be punished is ridiculous. Are you talking about Walmart? No, we have no Walmart here. We have Costco. Strictly say, you're saying the album came out in 2001. But okay, then that's not relevant because cancel culture, I argue it doesn't exist now, but it definitely didn't exist in 2001. Like I say, when I'm talking about cancel culture, that's specifically internet behavior. That's people going on social media to say, because of what that person did or said, I'm not going to do. So the Michael Jackson example is completely outside of it anyway. But Justin, you're saying, okay, I'm going to take exception. That's the word I was looking for, Justin. I'm going to take a little bit of exception, not harsh. Costco thrives because people don't have a choice where to shop. Now, that is not true. Costco destroyed the options, and it destroyed the options by undercutting, and then people chose to not shop at the small businesses where they'd always shop, who then went out of business. And that's what Misfoxification said. People complain about Walmart, but they still shop there. And they create their own reality that they end up with Walmart being the only option. If they never went to the Walmart, then a Walmart wouldn't have killed all the local businesses. Suffers US came out same as Australian company came out. I don't think they're the same, but they do use the same branding. So there's got to be some, but I think they actually run quite differently. I think they're owned by different people, and I think they run quite differently as well. Although I could easily be wrong. But yeah, what I do know is, and again, although I could be wrong, I'm quite sure, I feel quite sure, Target US and Target Australia are definitely completely different. They've got a whole different vibe and definitely owned by different people. Yeah, Justin, I was talking about Walmart too. There's never a situation where people never had a choice but to shop at Walmart, because Walmart's relatively recent. But what ends up is people end up having very little choice except Walmart, because they stop buying from local businesses who then all Walmart then ends up being the only game in town. So I thought you might look it up, Miss Foxification. You're always good at searching things up Google. So Kmart's owned between Coles and a United States company. But that doesn't necessarily. Who owns Kmart US? Does this SS Krieg company? And don't they sound like Nazis? SS Krieg. That's a stereotype, isn't it? I'm just indulging in negative stereotypes. I should be ashamed of myself. What's wrong with me? Who can tell? Who can tell what's wrong with me? Many medical professionals have tried to answer that question. Come up blank. Come up absolutely blank. So it remains at an age. What's wrong with me? This Foxcast, you're saying it's Wesfarmers who own Kmart in the US, but Wesfarmers is an Australian company, isn't it? They went off on a freaking global commercial buy-up. I don't know, all these fucking conglomerates. I lose track of what's where and who owns what. Like there's only 3 companies in the world anyway. I'm fucking confused. Totally fucking confused. Yes, people are the Walton family who own Walmart, filthy stinking rich, among the richest billionaires in the world. So far, the cocktail is good. It's not that warming an effect, actually. Some more than others. It's quite good though. Yes, I'm being careful not to drink it too fast. No, you see, Nestle and Coke are 2 of the biggest. I mean, what is it? There's General Electric. General Electric owns almost everything, don't they? If I do a quick search, biggest companies in the world. What are the biggest companies in the world? That's capitalization. The companies that are worth the most are Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Alphabet, aka Google. Oh, that's interesting. This other list says there's a banking corporation, ICBC, and then JP Morgan, and then China Construction Bank, then the Agricultural Bank of China, then the Bank of America, then Apple, then an insurance company, then another Bank of China. So it's saying banks are all the biggest companies. I suppose what I've seen, what I was interested in finding, I've seen like infographics before that shows how many of these big companies own heaps of other companies. Because General Electric owns like a million fucking companies. And there's a joke like, particularly in the US, there's like no independent drink manufacturers and distributors. When you think you're buying an independent soft drink or even fruit juice, it's actually owned by Coke or Pepsi. It's like in this stage of late capitalism, it's impossible to be an ethical consumer. It's because there's just these fucking evil companies, and when you think you're buying ethically, you're not, because they're fucking you. See, I think when you say biggest companies, there's so many different ways to measure it. You get different things. Like this one says the 20 biggest, saying 20th is Verizon, then Chevron, an oil and gas company, then Volkswagen Automotive, then Alphabet, aka Google, then Microsoft, then Toyota, then Citigroup, then Samsung, then AT&T, then ExxonMobil, then Wells Fargo. That's a surprising one, Wells Fargo. Then Royal Dutch Shell, then Bank of China, and Ping An Insurance, a Chinese insurance company, then Apple, then Bank of America, then the Agricultural Bank of China, then China Construction Bank, JP Morgan. It's interesting. There's like 5 of the top 10 in this list are Chinese financial institutions. Not bad for communism, hey? Communism, am I right? It's just state-controlled capitalism. Suffer, is our exchange rate in Australia shit at the moment? That wouldn't surprise me at all. Exchange rate's been shitty all over the place. I'm just wondering, I just thought of something I need to check. I might have been missing some chat because I'm looking at it in this third party application. I just need to quickly double check something. No, we don't want top chat, we want live chat. So if you're saying our exchange rate is the worst since the global financial crisis. Yeah, that's a bit shitty. It's more than a little bit shitty. Okay, I don't know if I missed any chat. Quite honestly, hopefully I didn't. Oh yeah, that 1% interest rate on long-term bonds. Oh my God, our economy's so fucked. Oh, another fun topic, misclassification, the government wanting to crack our phones, wanting to get through encryption. But now we've been shown like the whole thing that, yeah, they're doing metadata collection, all these laws that were to protect us from terrorism, and they're just using it for everyday government bullshit. Like they're using metadata collection to fuck over welfare recipients now. And there's that infamous case, what's he called? Witness K? Is that what they're calling him? Yeah, Witness K. This is like so fucked. Now, if you've never heard of this one, what happened? Just after East Timor got its independence from Indonesia, Australia was supposedly being friend to Timor. And then there was this negotiation of, hey, there's all this natural gas in the ocean that can be exploited. And there was like, East Timor was saying, well, we own that part of the ocean. And Australia's going, oh, it's near us. And it's like, Australia, well, why don't we help it? And then there was negotiations between Australia and Timor. And part of the friendly, helpful thing Australia did was helping East Timor build their government buildings, and they installed a bunch of listening devices into the building so they could spy on the government while these negotiations were going on, so they could find out what people were thinking and they could tilt things in their favor. And they ended up with a really unfair deal on the oil and gas exploitation rights. And one of the Australian spies who was actually leading this spying on, yes, as you say, Safa Timor-Leste government, decided this is wrong and I'm going to report it, and was in fact on his way to deliver an affidavit to the International Court in The Hague. And the government realized what he was doing, raided his house and got all the papers, cancelled his uh, uh, what do you call it, passport, so he couldn't leave the country, and charged him with espionage. All these laws that are supposedly to protect us from the evils of terrorism are actually used by the government to do whatever the fuck they want. And it's really worth dwelling on. This guy was going to the International Court at The Hague to report the Australian government for criminal behaviour, and the Australian government's reaction was to call him a spy and a criminal and arrest him. Now, of course, this got out anyway, what was happening, and The Hague did say, hey, Australia, you broke international law. And Timor-Leste negotiated a much more favourable deal. And so the Australian government is really angry at this guy because in his attack of the morals cost the government billions of dollars. And so, yes, the fucking metadata tracking laws that would protect us from terrorists are being used to persecute people on welfare. The anti-terrorism laws that were meant to protect us are being used to persecute whistleblowers, exposing government law breaking and corruption. It's basically, they're fucking liars. They just want to suppress dissent. But you see this around the world. One of the most dangerous things you can do is embarrass your government, embarrass the people in power. That's why it's like the Hong Kong protests, embarrassing the power brokers in China, very risky. The various leaks from like WikiLeaks, Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden, etc., embarrassing the US government is real fucking dangerous for your health. Embarrassing the Australian government, real fucking dangerous for your freedom. It does. Governments around the world will go after you harder if you embarrass them than if you murder someone. You're better off killing someone than embarrassing a government and exposing their malfeasance because they will fucking go you. Yeah, we see that everywhere. Every whistleblower around the world, the government come down on them so hard. See, you think that everyone fighting on Twitter and Facebook diverts us anyway. Yeah, Miss Foxication, I tend to agree that why the fuck aren't we in the streets like the people in Hong Kong? I think the government currently is likely to push things too far with industrial relations. I think they got their heads up their own asses. They'll push some absolutely extreme industrial relations law, and we will get really full on industrial action and protests in response, which they won't be ready for. But they'll declare to be criminal, illegal things and trying to arrest people. But I think that's what will get people in the streets. That's my prediction. If people are going to end up in the streets in significant numbers, it's probably going to be when the government tries to ass fuck everyone in the country who isn't a millionaire, because it's clearly their strategy. And I think when they do, this is what they literally want to do. They want to take away every protection permanent employees have, take away penalty rates, take away holiday pay, take away sick leave benefits, let bosses force whatever shift they want on you. And they really want to push people off permanent employment and onto contract employment where you have no rights whatsoever, no entitlements, nothing. And I think they're going to push it too far, and there'll be a massive backlash, and it will not be pretty. Because again, as I try to remind people, the early days of the union movement that won us these basic rights, these rights, 40-hour week, holidays, sick pay, penalty rates, every basic protection people take for granted was not won through sitting down quietly and asking nicely. It was won through the blood, sweat, and tears of union people. Literally, the blood. People were murdered, and not a small number of people were murdered for fighting for the most basic of rights. And they're going to fucking so this is why the libs are going after unions, because they think they can. They think they can get away with it. They think, and to an extent, they're right. Over the last couple of decades, they've undermined people's beliefs in unions. The media have been only too happy to help them perpetuate. I'm talking about Australia, but the UK too, really. They've been undermining the role of unions for years. The media's been only too happy to parrot this anti-union shit, and people are fucking idiots and have swallowed it and seem unable to process that the most basic, and I mean the most basic rights that workers take for granted, people died for them. And many people died for them. And it's just being whittled away through legislation to the point where these are actual stated goals of the Liberal Party. Keeping wages low, so we go backwards year after year after year. Inflation continues on its merry way and wages don't. So in real terms, we're further behind every year that goes by. They want to push people off permanent employment onto short-term contract employment, and then you have no rights whatsoever. You don't get holidays, you don't get sick days, you don't get penalty rates. And once they've got people on casual and contract employment, again, I'm not indulging in hyperbole. They've been open about these goals. They want to have, it goes by a few names. One of the names is like 0-hour contracts. It's basically you have no guarantee of work. Like you have shifts lined up for the week. And this will affect people more in retail and food service. But it's like you rock up for your shift and the boss is able to go, oh, there's not enough customers, go home. And you don't get paid. You don't get that shift. And it doesn't matter that you've traveled in and whatnot. They can just go, oh, I just had you here for an hour for the busy time. Go home now. So it costs you more to get to and from work than you earn from work. And if you think that's bad, the other thing they want to be able to do, this is an actual real policy they've been pushing, is that the bosses can pay you in kind, not in money. So it's like, you work at Pizza Hut and the boss cuts your shifts short and goes, oh, and your pay for tonight is this family pizza, we charge $25 for that. So on the shitty hourly rate you've been forced onto, that covers your 2 hours that you dragged yourself in for. And you're going, I want a fucking pizza, I want money. And you don't have the right to refuse it. If you work in a shop, then, they say, oh, and in lieu of paying you, here's this shirt that's been on the $2 sale rack, but it was $60 when it was new, so it counts as paying you $60. They literally want workers to have no rights whatsoever, no protection whatsoever. And I honestly think they will get people out into the streets because they're disconnected from reality. They don't understand the degree to which they are fucking people over. They don't care, but they also don't understand how angry people are. And there's a lot of people who say that's one of the reasons Trump did as well as he did in the election is because he catered to pissed off people. He lied to them, and they're a bunch of fucking suckers. And it really helped that he appealed to people's baser instincts with bigotry in particular. But Trump was from outside the system. There's no questioning. He came in acting like he was just going to completely smash the system. Bunch of fucking morons believed him. Trump he may not have been part of the political system, but he's part of the system of the oligarchs. And he's been a criminal his whole fucking life. He's been a scam artist his whole fucking life. He's been responsible for scams that run into the hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, he's just a fucking criminal. And he just appealed to people saying, I'm going to smash everything. He was lying. Kind of have some faith that someone like Bernie Sanders actually means it. It's disturbing to me that Trump's lies were so obvious, but people lapped them up just because it was something different. So, no, it's not currently legal to be paid in Australia. It's not currently legal to be paid in pizza, but that is an actual, real policy that the Conservative coalition has pushed in the past, that should be legal. I do think they will get very close to revolution if they ever try and introduce. I mean, seriously, I'd be hard pressed because in my time, I've worked at McDonald's and KFC and Pizza Hut. And I have trouble imagining a situation where I wouldn't punch the boss in the fucking face if the boss, cut my shift short and then said, your pay for this shift I cut short is this pizza. I have trouble imagining scenarios where I wouldn't punch them in the fucking face. So is it a thing in the US? I don't think so, but God, people have so few rights in the US, like the minimum wage isn't livable. People get fucked over savagely in the US. But I don't think it's legal to say in the US, I paid this worker in kind. But see, we have this happens all the time in Australia, and I can only imagine it's orders of magnitude worse in the US. The employers stealing the wages of the employees, particularly in hospitality and retail. A TV celebrity chef was recently outed for stealing $20 million in wages from his staff. The 7-Eleven chain, a whole bunch of operators in that were busted. And the 7-Eleven particularly preyed on foreign students and recent immigrants, and then basically said, okay, well, here's your pay for this week, but if you want to keep your job, you have to now give some of that back to me. If you don't give me back $100, you won't have a job next week. And this was found to be rife throughout a lot of retail operations. The scumbag who was stealing money from staff in his restaurants, that was not paying them overtime, not paying them leave entitlements, basically just progressively stealing millions and millions of dollars from the staff. And it's just like, it needs to be a criminal offence because it's not a criminal offence. It's just like a civil offence. The worst thing that happens is you get a fine. And it's like, no, That's theft. It's fucking theft. I don't know how else you describe it apart from theft. When you take something from someone that's theirs, and these people have earned their wage, it's theirs, you are legally required to give it to them. So when you take it from them, you're fucking stealing. And it's just like, it should just be treated as theft and they should go to fucking jail. Okay, so that's really disturbing. You're saying your family can be frustrated if you tell them Labor has better work rights. People can make a lot of arguments against Labor, but to say Labor doesn't have better industrial relations policies than the Liberals, the Liberals are just like, employers should be able to do whatever the fuck they want. And you get all these kind of, oh, they're the job creators, nothing happens without them. Fuck off. None of these businesses exist without the people who work in them. And it's just like, I swear to God, this is like that billionaire I was quoting earlier. These people have their heads too far up their own asses to see the obvious. Based on history, there is only one outcome to this. This level of inequality, this level of abuse of an underclass, this level of making the majority of society an underclass only ever ends one way, with a fucking revolution. Two things that I did not like. If we went back 20 years, two things that I would not have expected to see in my lifetime was, one was the rise of Nazis and the idea that saying Nazis are bad and should have the shit kicked out of them is regarded as a controversial statement. I would not have believed that would happen. But honestly, the second thing I would not have expected is the mainstreaming of socialism as an ideology. I just would not have seen that happening. But then again, I wouldn't have predicted the degree of exploitation and the widening of the gap between the rich and poor, so that so many people could no longer maintain the illusion and go, no, wait, what? This whole capitalism thing is shit, isn't it? Like all the stuff they're telling us about opportunity, it's a fucking lie. I'm looking for opportunities and they're not there. I'm applying for 20 jobs. I'm looking at the job sites and finding out for a basic shitty job, they're getting hundreds of applications. It's like, no, this system isn't fair. With 1% of the people, like, what's the number? Like, there are 20 people who have more wealth than the poorest billion people. It's like the disparity is so big. It's horrific. It's just absolutely stunning. But yeah, so two things I would not have predicted happening is that saying Nazis should get their heads kicked in would be a controversial statement. And I would not have predicted the way socialism has become mainstreamed, particularly among younger people. These yawns are probably telling me it's time to say goodnight. Yeah, but it's pretty fucking weird, the whole world we live in now. And yeah, the idea of people willfully destroying the planet with climate change, when we know exactly what's causing it, we know exactly how to fix it, and yeah, we get all these people lying about it. Fuck me. Anyway, so uh, look after yourself, one and all. It's just starting to rain now. I see Miss Occasion saying the worst weather's meant to be from 1 a.m. onwards. Well, I can hear it started to rain just now. So who knows? Maybe I'll get woken up during the night by wild weather. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I'm yawning again, so I really should go. Oh, Thank you for joining me, one and all. I didn't even use any of the funky features in this streaming thing tonight. Maybe another night. I just had fun just talking tonight. Look after yourself, one and all. And I will say bye for now. See you again soon. Bye bye.